What's up, everybody? It's Miles Turner, the Indiana Pacers. You're listening to Paceroos Podcast. Be sure to follow @Paceroos on Twitter.
Hello, everyone, again, and welcome to the Paceroos Podcast, the only NBA podcast where we talk about Alex Caruso for 35 minutes a week. I'm Adam, I'm your host, and what a terrible loss to a superior team in every conceivable way, the Indiana Pacers. Yes, this is the Paceroos Podcast. We are stoked to be coming to you after a Lakers loss and a Pacers victory. We beat LeBron again in Bankers Life Fieldhouse. We're all pretty pumped up about it. And, it's a great day to be a Pacers fan. Justin, I know you're especially chuffed. We thought this was, a distinct possibility or a remote possibility, but Pacers got the job done.
Yeah, I am pumped up. It's probably, like Miles said post-game, it's the signature win of the season. All this talk has been about the Pacers early on with, we've had such a soft schedule. When are we going to have a signature win? Well, we've stamped that now. We've beaten Utah, we've beaten Boston, and we've beaten the Lakers. I couldn't be more happy. I was just thinking today that just watching the game, I don't know if it's because of LeBron, I don't know if it's because Lakers, I don't know if it's because my brother goes for Lakers, but I just wanted that win so bad. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. It's really great, LeBron coming in our building, and I am very happy.
Yeah, it's definitely goes up a level when LeBron comes to the building. I think we spoke a lot about LeBron last episode about, being in the building for LeBron visiting Bankers Life and how the crowd always gets up for a LeBron game. And, he's broken our hearts so many times over the years. And, I'm sure that hopefully he's done with that. Hopefully that's the last time he broke our hearts was a couple of seasons ago. But there's a lot of memories there, and there's a real desire to want to send him off whichever season may be his last season with a loss. And Alex, it was a strong performance from the usual suspects, and your boy Aaron Holiday got a lot of burn again, and it was just a really strong team victory.
Yeah, I don't think there's any better feeling in the world than beating a LeBron James team, especially when it's the Lakers. I've got to give a shout out to Miles Turner. How good was his post-game interview? I think he stole the microphone off Pat Boylan and gave a shout out to the real Pacers fans. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And yeah, like you said, it was the usual suspects, wasn't it? It's a bonus. He's a certified all-star now. I said in the last podcast that I would give it to Brogdon right now, but after today's performance, I think, Sabonis has cemented himself in that all-star spot. 26 points, 10 rebounds, 4 offensive ones as well, and 4 assists. He was just nothing short of incredible. And I just wanted to give a quick mention to how good has Miles Turner been these last couple of games. And I think that he has received so much criticism from the fan base, or a segment of the fan base at least. And he hasn't looked that great the last week or the last couple of weeks, but these last 2 games, he has been back to his old self.
Yeah, Miles was brilliant. He was so confident from behind the arc, 3 for 6 from three-point land. But I think the biggest thing about his game that I saw today was the attack, the confidence to shoot his shot when he had it. The fan base has been crying out for him to take more 3-point shots and be more confident in his 3-point stroke. And we've seen that the last few games, and it certainly paid dividends today. I mean, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He was obviously everywhere on defense as usual. It didn't start the game all that well in the I think it was the end of the first quarter. LeBron was scoring at will inside and creating a lot of opportunities, a lot of lobs. But to his credit, he adjusted. The defense adjusted in the second half, and they were able to squash the Lakers' sort of drives to the basket. And Alex, he's really turned the corner over the last week, hasn't he?
Yeah, the confidence. He looks like a different player than he was a week or 2 ago. And I think the game against the Knicks was the turning point for him, having those, I think it was 5 or 6 blocks he ended up with, came up clutch. And yeah, he has been incredible since then. Today he isn't stuffing the stat sheet, but when you get 16 points, 7 rebounds, and a pair of steals and blocks from him, you can't ask for much more. I mean, when he's being efficient and scoring like he was today, he is just so influential to this team and so important to winning. And we saw that today, and we saw it the last couple of games against the Hornets as well.
I think it's time to let you loose, Justin. There are a couple of unsubstantiated rumours about rival GMs saying that the Pacers had traded Miles Turner over the last couple of days. I know that you're a big fan of those rumours, so have at it, mate. Have at it.
Oh, I don't know. The way of the world, people believe everything they read. Alex, you did a fantastic tweet today. The Pacers are not trading Miles Turner. If you know the Indiana Pacers, we don't like doing mid-season trades. Historically, we've rarely done it. Miles Turner's played, above average this year. He's coming into his own, and we're just testing out the waters with him and Domas right now. How stupid would it be to trade Miles Turner right now? Well, You've just signed Sabonis to an extension. You've just signed Turner to an extension, and we're 25 games into, say, the experiment, and we'll trade him. No.
And we don't even know what they'll be like with Vic.
Exactly right. Yeah, we haven't even got our best player yet to see what the starting five will be. So there is no chance we trade Miles Turner unless there'd be a unfathomable offer we just couldn't say no to. So I suppose get that in your head. Some Pacer fans, Miles Turner will be on this team. I did message you guys today saying I would gladly eat a hat if Miles Turner's traded during the season. So I don't know why I broadcasted that, but yeah.
Well, it's on tape now, so there's no taking it back, and I don't think you need to worry because Miles Turner is going nowhere. He's too important to this team. He's too important to our defense. He's too important to our offense. He allows us to stretch the floor while he's on the floor. He gives Sabonis the space that he needs to be able to operate. And Alex, you said it yourself. Sabonis is a bona fide all-star. I'm doubling down on my view from last week. I know that I copped a bit of flack. There were some controversial opinions shared to the tweet that was sent out. But I'm not going to give any of those controversial opinions any airtime. All I'm going to say is that I'm allowed to both appreciate and like Miles Turner and appreciate and like Domas Sabonis and think that Sabonis is an all-star and think that Brogdon is an all-star. I'm allowed to have all of those opinions at the same time. Just because I say Domas is an all-star doesn't mean I hate Miles. Just because I say Miles is a better player than people are giving him credit for doesn't mean I hate Domas. And just because I say one of them should make the all-star team doesn't mean that I say that both of them shouldn't make the all-star team. Don't be ridiculous. Stop talking crap.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you remember last week?
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, Adam, you were for Sabonis, and Alex, you were for Brogdon, and we ran a Twitter poll, nearly over 500 votes, and it was near 50-50 split. It was about 54% said Brogdon, 46% said Domas. So I knew it would be even, probably not that close, but amazing. But for me, after this Lakers game, I know Domas was the stat stuffer, but for me, Brogdon punched his ticket to the All-Star game. I'm not even going to look at the box score. He was the only Pacer to make a field goal in the last 4 minutes and 30 seconds of that game. He hit 3 crucial shots, essentially won us the game. And, got that kind of Reggie Miller feel to it where even if he's not shooting the best, he's going to be the player that'll perform for us in the clutch. And Sabonis even mentioned that post-game on NBA TV. He said, Brogdon's the leader of this team. We trust the ball in his hands. And to me personally, if Brogdon keeps up this until February, he'll be an all-star.
He finds a way to influence the game, doesn't he, Alex? Like he always finds a way to get in there and either set up his teammates or try and finds a way to the basket or finds a way to get some space out.
Yeah, and he always comes up huge as well. I saw it a little bit with the Bucks last season, but he looks like a completely different man this year. And I think before maybe the last 3 or 4 minutes, he might have been like 2 from 12 from the field or something like that, and he hit his last 4 or 5 shots. So, yeah, whenever the game's close or, whenever we're struggling late, you can always throw it to Malcolm, and he's going to get that switch onto the big or whether he's being guarded by, LeBron or Dwight today, he was taking him off the dribble and getting to the rim at will, and it's a joy to watch. And to have a guy like that, I know he didn't shoot any free throws today, but how nice is it to have a guy that, you can inbound the ball to every time and he's almost guaranteed to make it. He's automatic from the free throw line. We struggled with that in the past, but it's fantastic to have that this season with him.
It was one of the things where in the mid-2000s, I always envied Detroit having Chauncey Billups at the line at the end of games. And I've always appreciated a point guard that can hit his free throws when they count. George Hill was a little bit like that at times. He went through periods of time where he was really reliable and then periods of time where he wasn't. And Brogdon's just old Mr. Reliable from the free throw line. He's been magnificent. And speaking of magnificent, for the 852nd time in the history of this podcast, I'm going to mention Aaron Holiday's name. Aaron Holiday has been just scintillating over the last few weeks. He's found his role within the offense. He's found his role within the defense. He's contributing in multiple ways. He's setting up teammates. He's driving to the basket. He's hitting threes. Absolutely everything that you would want of this kid, he is giving you. He is as advertised as he was advertised at the start of the season. He had a few bad games at the start, but my, oh my, Alex, how right we were.
Oh yeah, Justin, we got to rub this one in your face. You know we got to do it to you, mate. Aaron Holiday, like you said, I think you mentioned before the pod, you're not a hater of him. You were never a hater of him, but I think you just, you were doubting how high Pacers were on him, but he's showing you why right now. I mean, against the Hornets, he was pulling out dribble moves. I haven't seen a Pacers player pull out in a very long time. He was, double cross and step back, and his jumper looks amazing. And something that he struggled with early in the year was finishing at the rim. He was just missing layups after layup. Now today, he took LeBron off the dribble, put him in the spin cycle, and finished with a crazy off-balance left-hand shot. I mean, this kid, he's always had the confidence, but he's starting to put it all together now. So he's got the confidence and the skill, and it is a joy to watch. He's fantastic. We
need that spark plug off the bench, and we've got the reliable hand in your man TJ McConnell.
The White Iverson.
We've got the Swiss Army knife in Justin Holiday, and we've got the spark plug in Aaron Holiday. And I'd say that Justin, this is the best bench that the Pacers have had in quite some years. Perhaps the best bench we've had this decade. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny you mentioned that. I remember episode 1 or 2 on the podcast before the season started. I mentioned two major factors on how this season is going to play out for the Pacers. Was one, how is Oladipo going to be when he returns? And number 2 was the bench. Now, the bench production in the first few games was terrible. And, whole and behold, we were 0-3. So now that bench, even if we're down early in the first quarter, I have confidence we're going to make a run when Justin Holiday comes in, Aaron Holiday comes in, and McConnell, Doug McDermott come in. And speaking of Aaron Holiday, I've gone from night to day with him. His confidence is through the roof. I trust him with the ball. He's not just kind of chucking shots on the perimeter now. He's finding teammates. He got 4 assists today, and just want to mention it today. I know I did mention it last week on the podcast, but I'd say the unsung hero of the Pacers, fan-wise, who doesn't get enough credit, is Nate McMillan. Yeah. I just think he's got to be in the running for Coach of the Year right now.
He's done an amazing job.
It must be so hard to coach an NBA team, like I mentioned last week, with all the egos on the team, and you got to play minutes and matchups and everything like that. And he played the Holiday brothers the whole fourth quarter like he has recently because they've been the spark. It was the same against the Boston Celtics. He's stuck with what players have performed on the night, and not many coaches do that. So I just want to give Nate another shout out. Pacer Nation does love him, and I'd say he's in the top 5 Coach of the Year right now.
Would you say that the real Indiana fans love Nate, Justin?
Well, I'm not this big Nate lover and loved him since day one. I was devastated when we fired Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel, to me, personally, was my favourite ever Pacers coach.
Same.
I'm not just sitting here, I love Nate, but I think the man deserves some credit.
He gets a lot of hate on social media as well.
And I do not know why.
Yeah, it's all undeserving, to be honest with you.
We just beat the best team in the league, and I didn't see really one tweet about Nate McMillan, and I just thought, man, he cops all the criticism when we lose to any team, and then if we were to lose against Sacramento on Friday night in Indiana time, there'll be tweets out there saying fire McMillan. So give him credit where credit's due. We're the hottest team in the league right now. Where they've got a four game winning streak. That's the longest in the league, and Nate McMillan. Brogdon even mentioned post-game today, he said, there was people around the league that thought we would take longer to gel, that thought this would be a 41, games into the season, then Pacers would start gelling. Who deserves the credit for that? McMillan.
Yeah, he's been magnificent, and it's clear that he's got this team humming. It's clear that the team trust him and trust that he's the right coach for this team. I mean, when we were 0-3, I know there was a lot of conjecture. There was a lot of discussion about Nate's coaching, about the bench, about all of these different factors. I mean, you take out those 3 games and win 19-6 since then. You can't really fault a team that is missing their only official All-Star, about to have either 1 or 2 more in a couple of months. But 19-6 over that that 25 game span. You can't ask for a better record than that. I mean, we are now right in the mix with Boston, Miami, Toronto, and Philadelphia. We're within, a game of all of those teams. And if you told me that we'd be within a game of all four of those teams at this point in the season without Victor Oladipo, I would take that 100 times out of 100. It is. You cannot fault the job that Nate McMillan's done. You cannot fault the effort that this team has put forward over the last 6 weeks, and it's now paying dividends. It's been a really fantastic start to the season, and this will probably continue. We've got Sacramento coming up next at home on Friday Indiana time, Saturday morning Australia time, and really. Like we talked about trap games last week. We talked about the Atlanta game being a trap game after a big win against Boston. This Sacramento team is also no joke. They've been playing some good ball over the last couple of weeks, and they've recently, I think De'Aaron Fox is either back or just about to come back. So
yeah, he came back. Yeah,
this is another one of those funny trap games that could slip us up. Alex, do you see Sac Town giving us any trouble?
Yeah, they're one of those teams that play almost the opposite to the Pacers, or opposite to how the Pacers have been playing in recent years. They play an up-tempo game. They shoot a ton of threes, and with De'Aaron Fox back, they're going to really push in the pace. So, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Malcolm Brogdon to keep De'Aaron Fox in front of him. We know Miles is one of the best rim protectors in the league, but there's only so much he can do. So that's on Brogdon, Lamb, Warren. They've got to do a good job keeping those guys in front of them. And this game's actually huge because if you look at the Pacers' schedule, they've got the Bucks, the Raptors, and then the Heat, all 3 games after that. So, yeah, the schedule gets really hard after this game against Sacramento, so you really don't want to drop this one.
And momentum's huge. I mean, we've seen that we've won the last 3 games. Justin, if we falter against the Kings, there could be a bit of a slide there heading into that, that tougher part of the schedule. Do you think that this is a danger?
Every game's danger, to be honest, and like we've spoke about between us three, no easy game in the NBA. I watch majority of games, or I'm over them every day. And just recently, Dallas beat Milwaukee without Doncic, and Memphis just beat Miami. There were other teams who were leading teams up until the final minute. So, full of upsets. But yeah, you're right. If Pacers do somehow fall to Sacramento, that wouldn't be great going into that tough three game stand. But I'm confident we will win. I think the Pacers have an off day tomorrow, and then they're back at practice. So it'll be good to have a little rest. It seems like they've been playing non-stop lately. So, I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be the easiest in terms of schedule of the next 4 games. We've got Sacramento at Milwaukee, Toronto at Miami, and then at New Orleans to finish the year. But I think, to be honest, not to look ahead too far on the schedule, but the game that I'm looking forward to the most is New Year's Eve, America time, or New Year's Day, our time at 7 a.m. versus Philadelphia. Yeah. That return game, obviously the first game, we blew that game. We should have taken care of Philadelphia in their own house. Philadelphia are an extremely tough team to beat at home, as per their record. But I think that'll be yet another game where, just like against Charlotte, it was really clear that the Pacers were locked in, knew exactly what they needed to do to beat the Hornets. I think it'll be the same story on New Year's Day. They will circle that one on the calendar, and they will want the Sixers win more than a lot of other games this season. Do you agree, Alex?
100%. This is a game where they're going to want revenge. That one would have hurt a ton in Philly. I know that was a tough one, on the road, but the Pacers had their chances. I think they were up 4 in the clutch and just turned it over about 3 or 4 times. That those ones hurt the most. I know players try to play it off, but that's one for sure they're going to remember, and they're trying to get back in them, especially Embiid. So they might have to flop a bit for that one. But I was going to ask you guys, when do you reckon we haven't heard much about Oladipo, but we did hear some comments today. I think he said he was about 75 or 80%. When do you think he's going to come back? I was going to, because I remember we predicted a couple episodes around late December, which is obviously not going to happen now. But are we thinking mid-January or even later than that?
I'm thinking after the All-Star break, to be honest.
Really?
And I haven't been told anything. I know they said today there's been no setbacks. Personally, with no factual information, I think there maybe has been a little setback. I think they may be targeted, around late December, early Jan, and I reckon they've maybe pushed that back a bit. Maybe it's because the team's doing so well, but also don't want to start any rumours, but I did hear some things creeping in that Oladipo pre-injury was actually quite hurt. His calf and quad was actually not great, and he did mention that, I think, on ESPN. He said, before the injury, he wasn't 100%. So
he missed a lot of games early in the year.
Yeah, so quite interesting. Maybe he did think, did Pacers pressure him to play? I'm not too sure, but I think they're just going to be really, really safe with Victor. To be honest, now I don't see him playing until the All-Star break.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, look, I'm going to take a little bit of a different view. I think they wouldn't have told him that it was okay to do The Masked Singer if they didn't understand that when his media commitments were and how that would potentially impact his timeline. And the fact that his commitments were mid-December tells me that they were really confident and comfortable enough for him to do those media commitments because he wasn't going to return for a number of weeks after that. So my view on it is that based on that decision alone, that it's going to be mid-January is my prediction. So sort of reading the tea leaves, I think the fact that he was allowed to leave the team to, I'm sure he was, professional and in control of his own rehab and et cetera, and kept his schedule. But the fact that they were comfortable enough to let him go to, I think, LA for those media commitments tells me that he's probably still about a month away. And I think I'm going to revise my prediction, and we're all about predictions on this show because it doesn't matter if we get them wrong because we know nothing. We're on the other side of the world, for God's sake. But January the 14th versus Philadelphia, my sources in my head tell me that's when Oladipo is going to make his debut this season.
Yeah, and we can't not mention his showing on ESPN First Take and the lack of respect that those reporters and Skip Bayless, and we posted on the Paceroos Twitter account. It got over 15,000 views, and you've got, like you mentioned, Alex, you've got a superstar in the league. You've got a smaller franchise player coming on. You think maybe ask him about the Paul George trade or what's it like after maybe stepping in Reggie Miller's shoes in the state, but all they asked him was bloody about LeBron and Giannis and LA teams. It's
who's better, the Lakers or the Clippers?
Yeah, like, good on Oladipo for just trying to steer the conversation back to the Pacers. Like, good on him. But, yeah, it's just ridiculous. And, like I see today, the headline of ESPN for the Pacers-Lakers game is LeBron's near triple-double, not enough for Lakers in a road loss. It's like...
Did you expect anything else, though?
Oh, you wouldn't, but maybe one day you might see Sabonis leads Pacers to big victory. It's just funny. And I saw the Sports Center highlights. I reckon 8 of 9 were all Laker clips. But yeah, being a Pacer fan, you'd be used to it.
Yeah, I think the exposure of the players and obviously the franchises themselves play a part, but the fact that we don't have a noted all-star on this team at the moment probably hurts our ability to get that national media. And as we've said repeatedly, that's going to change in about 6 weeks' time when at least one of Sabonis or Brogdon is going to make that all-star team, perhaps both of them. But you would hope then that later in the season, after those guys become all-stars, that the national media will start, paying more attention to the Pacers. And that's probably where, guys like Zach Lowe, who's copped a lot on Twitter after predicting that the Pacers would miss the playoffs, to his credit, he's come out and said, you know what, I was wrong. The Pacers are way better than I gave them credit for. And he's the sort of guy that mentions them in his weekly columns and will continue to do so. And, we'll probably see a fair bit more action out of him, out of the Ringer. We're not going to see anything out of Bleacher Report. We know that. Set the expectation now.
The Caruso Report.
Yeah, the Caruso Report. Did you see that three that he hit in the second quarter? Wow, that was incredible. That was awesome. But anyway, I think the national media is going to give the Pacers a little attention, especially when Oladipo gets back. Yeah. But I think having another couple of All-Stars is going to contribute positively to that. But as you said, Justin, we're used to it by now. It's a small market team, as everyone loves to call us from the outside. I think Kevin Pritchard has a different term for it. But we deal with our own challenges, and we we revel in being slept on, because then when we beat a team like the Lakers, we can point at everyone else and laugh.
Couldn't agree more. I love being slept on. Like, I love being the underdog no one talks about, and then come playoff time, everyone's like, "Oh, who's this Pacers team?" Like,
and it happens every year, doesn't it?
Yeah, you haven't watched all season. We're a good bloody team, and there'll probably be an article overnight. We'll wake up tomorrow, and I'm sure there'll be some national media going, "Oh wow, the Pacers are going to be great once Oladipo comes back," which happened against after we won Boston, and now it's going to happen after the Lakers. So when we get a big win against a big franchise team, there's always that article saying, "Oh, the Pacers," but I like being slept on. It's good.
Yeah, that's what we want. I mean, ultimately, being in that smaller city or that smaller market, quote unquote, I don't really love that term, because it just makes us seem like we shouldn't succeed, or we should be okay with a middling team, or want to get a high lottery pick every time. But that's not the case. I mean, the great thing about this franchise is that we always try and make the playoffs. We always try and stay competitive. We always try and win. A lot of fans would, as we discussed really early on in the podcast, a lot of fans would like us to tank, would like us to have a couple of seasons where we try and get the great young player, the great young hope.
Never will happen.
But it's not going to happen. And we've all accepted that a long time ago, and we're all, comfortable and happy with the fact that this team's going to try and win as many games as possible every single year. And there's a really great feeling around a team that does that. There's a moral victory that comes with rooting for the Pacers, I think.
Yeah, and that's what you want for a team. I know, sometimes you want that high draft pick to get, the best player out of college or high school that year. But essentially, as a fan, you want your team to try and win. You want your team to try and win every single game. And we know that being a Pacer fan, they're going to get, 82 games of them trying their hardest to get the best seeding, so we hopefully can get home court in the playoffs. So, you're used to it being a Pacer fan. And, if you are one, that's what you're proud to be.
Definitely. I think, you always want to see your team try and win a championship. And unfortunately, we haven't been so lucky. We've seen Eastern Conference Finals appearances. We've seen one NBA Finals appearance in 2000. But ultimately, you want your team to try and you want your team to win. And you can expect that if at any time, it's funny, LeBron James was talking about not missing games. And, we all know that was a little bit hypocritical, because he has missed games in the past. But one of the things that he said there was, maybe your kids come there for the very first time to see me. Maybe a family's, spent all their money on tickets to go and see a game. And to the Pacers' credit, if you fly from Australia to go to a Pacers game, you can be super confident that you are going to get the very best possible effort from that team. And they're going to put in 110%. I've been to Indiana twice, and both times I've seen a win. But both times I can say that the team tried its guts out, and they did everything they could to get the W. And as a fan, especially an overseas fan, it costs a lot of money to go to the States, and costs a lot of money to go to an NBA game, and to travel to a city that, let's be honest, it's not on, not on the posters at the travel agency for somewhere to go in the States. It's always Los Angeles, it's New York, it's Vegas. Those are the places that it's Miami. Those are the places that everywhere in Australia is telling us to go. So to fly into Indianapolis and use your own cash to try and get halfway across the world to see the team that you love and see and know and be confident that they're going to give 110%. Is huge. I mean, Justin, you were over there for 6 months of your life or so. You wouldn't have done that if it was going to be a situation where the team weren't going to give it their all.
No, not at all. And I'd probably be extremely concerned if someone told me the amount of money I've spent over, my 28-year life going to Indiana and on tickets and on games. I'd probably have a heart attack. But they, in my mind, I'm so passionate about the Pacers, and they've deserve my money because they're always going to play hard. There's no tanking, there's no off years, and that's what I really enjoy about the team. So, I love it. And just before we wrap up, Adam and Alex, just want to give a bit of a shout out to former NBA Commissioner David Stern. We all know he's in a critical condition right now in hospital. So, just thought I'd mention him. Prayers up to him. Hopefully, he pulls through.
Yeah, I never like to see a guy that was so influential in the NBA. Either whether you like him or you don't, you never like to see someone in that position. And we wish him and his family and all NBA fans all the best, especially heading into the holiday period. I think we'll end up bringing you a Christmas Eve or Christmas Day edition of the Paceroos next week, following the Sacramento, Milwaukee, and Toronto games. So really hoping we've got 3 wins to talk about across that period. Justin, any quick predictions for the Sacramento, Milwaukee, and Toronto games? Are you picking 3-0, 1-2, 2-1?
I'm going to be optimistic in saying 2-1. Milwaukee being the only loss. Obviously, that's a standout massive game. I don't think we could beat Milwaukee, maybe, but it's a 2-1 for me. And hey, last week I predicted 2-1 and we were 3-0. So let's hope I'm wrong again. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, I'd love to see us go 3-0, but I'm also going to go with 2-1. I think if we can walk away with either one of the Milwaukee or Toronto games with a victory, I'll be really comfortable and happy with where we're at. We obviously had a couple of really big victories over the last couple of weeks, so we've proven we can take it to good teams and we can be competitive with good teams. I think the Milwaukee matchup is tough with Giannis. I think any matchup with Giannis is tough for any team in the league, but I think the Toronto game at home, Pascal Siakam's playing unbelievable right now. He's fantastic. OG Anunoby will continue to haunt my draft dreams for the rest of my life. But I think the Toronto game is probably slightly more gettable than the Milwaukee game, just simply because we wouldn't have far and away the best player in the world on the other side of the ball. So I'm going to predict that we can win the Sacramento and Toronto games and we lose the away game, the road game to Milwaukee. Justin, thanks so much for joining us on the Paceroos. Thanks to Alex as well. And we'll see you around Christmas, and happy holidays to all of our listeners on the Paceroos podcast. Thanks.